Welcome to Biztech's Technology Show, the show where we feature tech companies operating globally, talking about their solutions and how they make a difference to their customers' businesses. Today, we speak to Paul North, Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific and Japan at Optimizely. Now, Optimizely provides customer experience optimization through its experimentation software platform. Now, to tell us more, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Brian.
Now, Paul, for a start, give us an overview of Optimizely and your history.
Optimizely, the brand Optimizely is probably just under 10 years old. It was I started out very much looking at the digital optimization space on how you create differentiation through websites and digital properties. The current company was actually a acquisition that took together two very, very strong players in the digital experience management space. Episerver, which was one of the market leading CMS vendors for content to create websites, and then obviously to start generating revenue out of them through the commerce technology. And around about 18 months ago, the two organizations were brought together through an acquisition where Episerver acquired Optimizely. And we really took what was two market leaders in certain categories of digital experience to create a combined entity that really has a portfolio that is second to none and very much the equal of most of the other competitors we have in this particular space. So it's been a really good journey to bring together these two capabilities and to expand it into the Asia Pacific and Japan market.
Now, Paul, after that also, last year you made two other acquisitions. Tell us about that and the impact on your offerings.
Yeah, look, I mean, for us, digital experience is much more than websites and apps and carts. There's a whole kind of precursor that comes before you create a website in the planning space. And then there's the whole harnessing of the data that comes from all of those different channels that then you need to be able to harvest to optimize your relationship with those consumers. So for us, two very, very strategic acquisitions were the Zeus platform, which is now Optimizely Data Platform. It effectively takes all of the data from your commerce engine, from your websites, from your CRM, from all of the disparate kind of data sources and consolidates them into a single view of the customer. It then allows you to analyze and target those customers so that you can execute on that data and have a much more meaningful relationship with them because you understand their buying behaviors, you understand their preferences, you understand which channels they choose to be communicated through and whether or not they want to be communicated. So data is a very, very strong and critical component to the digital experience journey. But just as much as data, also the planning and execution of that digital experience. So we then acquired a company called Welcome. Previously, it was branded NewsCred, which was a market leader in the marketing orchestration space. So if you think about the myriad of different kind of tools that you use to plan a marketing campaign, there's Excel spreadsheets, there's email approvals, there's a repository for all of your digital assets. There's that you might use a project management tool like monday.com or something like that. There's so many disparate functions that come together in the marketing planning space that we really thought that a crucial part of creating optimized digital experiences was actually bringing together and consolidating that planning, execution, resource management, and approval process to the marketing space, and that's what Welcome was and is now our orchestration layer that comes before you start creating the websites.
So essentially, everything is around content, commerce, and optimization.
Correct. It is. It's everything you would ever want to do from the first minute that you have an idea to create a digital experience right through to making that digital experience optimal and actually harvesting and creating a better relationship with your consumers and your end users. That's exactly what we do.
And Paul, could you help us to break it down in terms of how specifically perhaps one or two of your customers use your whole suite of products? in the
Yeah,
region?
look, we've got a myriad of different customers using either one or all of our different technologies. We have Bendigo and Adelaide Bank, who are one of the largest banks here in Australia. They use all of our kind of personalization and our content creation capabilities to create that digital experience for their end users. They've recently acquired our experimentation platform, which is the optimization capability. So if you think about going online, looking for a banking product, you're reading through a lot of content. So the website itself actually learns the topics that you're interested in and presents them to you in a way that kind of watches your customer journey and tries to optimize that. Then with the optimization capability, when you go onto a website, if you find it more difficult to apply for a product or to communicate with the business in hand, we can create multiple versions of that activity that you want to do online to see which one is the one that's adopted the most. So as you have that website or that mobile app, optimizing the experience to remove the friction is, a core part of making that better experience in terms of engaging with banks and financial institutions. So we're very proud to have them as a customer. We've recently done that with a number of customers up here in Southeast Asia. I think on the digital optimization journey in particular, we're very proud to have recently acquired Zalora, who are one of the leading online retailers in region, and we're helping them to optimize their retail experience out of Southeast Asia.
So what does your footprint look like in the Asia Pacific region? Because after all, you are a relatively new construct in terms of a brand.
That comes down to the two halves of the business that existed before the primary acquisition I spoke about earlier. I would say about 85% of the customer base is Australia and New Zealand orientated, and we have between 10 and 15% of our footprint here in Southeast Asia. So for us, and for me, for focusing on regional expansion, clearly the growth area is Southeast Asia, getting into India, and moving across the Asian market. We see Asia Pacific and Japan as a growth region. It was probably one of the highest performing regions in our business last year, simply because A, we're starting from a smaller footprint, but B, there is such massive growth in all of the Asian economies that are really leapfrogging from pre-digital to digital. I think what's really interesting is the app-driven economy in Asia is much stronger than some of the more mature markets because they've been able to leapfrog, and that's really where we're focusing on helping to get those app experiences as optimal as possible.
And is the go-to-market strategy around having boots on the ground or a partner-driven strategy?
So, any software company that tries to do stuff on its own will fundamentally fail as far as I'm concerned. There's only so many salespeople you can employ. There's only so much brand marketing you can employ. The only way to get true scale is to have an ecosystem that is invested in your business, invested in your solutions and the outcomes that you drive with that ecosystem, and to intently invest in that ecosystem to accelerate your scaling across the region. So we've doubled our ecosystem in the last 12 months. Interestingly enough, my leader here in Singapore, his first hire was actually a partner manager. And I think that says a lot in terms of his intent in this market. He hired a partner manager so that we could double that ecosystem so that we can then extend beyond just the boots on the ground. But we're investing in both areas. We're investing in a team here in Singapore. We're looking at employing in India. And we may even look to other markets like Hong Kong as well to put go-to-market capability, as well as our engineering capacity, which sits in Hanoi. So our main development center globally sits in Vietnam.
Okay, Paul, I want to take a step upwards and look at a macro perspective. I want to talk about innovation. How do you move the needle in that space? And for particularly, how does your partnership with Google Cloud drive innovation and next generation experimentation?
Yeah, so look, Google Cloud is a very strategic play for Optimizely. Obviously, in terms of B2C kind of engagement, in terms of customer engagement and B2C engagement, there is no better leader than Google in terms of its reach direct to consumer. So what we're looking to do is take their capabilities in terms of their cloud's agility, their capabilities in terms of AI and data, and actually use that to, really help organizations optimize their websites and personalize them to a level that we haven't been previously able to do because of the partnership. They really are an innovation partner that are going to help us with that go-to-market capability and really become part of their broader ecosystem across the Southeast Asian market. So we're hugely excited about that partnership.
So Paul, AI is another segment where, especially AI-driven data, helps us make better decisions.
Yes.
Without removing ambiguity out of the whole equation. Tell us how you help clients with your solutions.
Yeah, look, we've got a number of solutions that effectively scrape content, whether it's commerce content, product-related content, whether it's, topical content, if it's heavy in terms of information, and automatically understands what the end user is looking for out of that digital experience, and then presents them with that information, whether it's a product, whether it's a topic of choice, or whether it's a way of interacting and doing business with them. I mean, I think it's no secret that behind all AI are a series of algorithms that understand actions and behavior and automate the process of the next step. So we effectively help to dynamically change the web experience or the in-app experience based upon the user's behavior. And the best way of doing that is having all of an organization's first-party data, looking at what those behavioral patterns are, and then actually helping to dynamically change in real time the experience to optimize the outcome, both for the individual, if you're doing one-to-one direct marketing, and for the organization that's looking to optimize conversions and have stickiness within their digital properties. So that's really the way we see that playing out.
Paul, I'm going to wear the hat of a CIO of a regional conglomerate. And let's assume I'm in Indonesia. How can Optimizely help me across my different businesses as I go to the next stage of my digital journey, the first stage being forced upon by COVID?
Yeah, look, interesting you bring COVID up, because I think there was one industry sector in IT that was not that fazed by the onset of COVID, and that's digital experience. And that's because all experience moved overnight from being, in-person bricks and mortar physical experiences with a bit of digital to almost 100% digital. Interestingly enough, if you look in the UK, one of the global behemoths in the retail industry, Primark, they didn't have a digital experience. They went from, billions of pounds per quarter to zero in terms of revenue in the flick of a switch. And digital therefore became not just a competitive advantage, but it became a survival capability for a lot of organizations. If you didn't have a good digital experience and you couldn't monetize your brand through those experiences, then you were going to struggle through COVID because people weren't actually turning up to your sites and buying your products. So for us, if you look across what happened during COVID, of course, people invested in their digital experience capabilities. And I'll break down those digital experience capabilities into a number of pillars. Up front, before you actually create the digital experience, we call that orchestration, right? Then when you're creating then you have the creation, whether it's the website creation or it's the app creation. Then you have the monetization, which to everyone is commerce. Then we have personalization, which is the use of data and making sure that you can keep people in there, you can cross-sell and upsell to them. And then finally, you have the optimization of the digital experience. So there's 5 kind of levels of that digital experience paradigm. For me, upfront, the orchestration is all about, optimizing the digital experience that you're going to create through, internal cost rationalization, budgetary controlling, and actually creating a much more streamlined process for approval and agreement on what your digital experience is going to be. Then the creation part is about giving end users the ability to get fast time to market, take the ideas and the collaboration that you have and the campaigns that you're driving and get them out to market as quickly as possible. So a nice, easy to use capability to deploy and publish content is what we see. And, the reduction in the number of people that you need in order to create that content as well. Thirdly, you want to be able to optimize the ability to transact. So you want very, very clear products and services online that you can actually publish and get people to monetize through the transaction engine as fast as possible. And that's obviously your commerce capability. And then once they're there, you want to keep bringing them back in, or you want them to buy more or to consume more information. Then what they may do is, if they're on the website for 3 seconds and they get bored of it, if you're serving up content or products that they're interested in, that draws them in, creates the stickiness in your website. And that's really the personalization and data usage. And then to remove friction from the website, to take away cost in terms of developing further capability in the website, that's the optimization engine. So I really want to not have an army of developers to try something out online. I want to try it quickly to a subsection of my cohort or my customer base. And then if it works, I'll deploy it fully into my web or my app experience. And then that's the optimization. So as you can see, from the minute you have an idea right through to the end where you're really trying to optimize that experience, that's the real kind of capability of where digital experience plays within a business context these days.
Now, Paul, it's been a fascinating conversation, but before we leave, any final thoughts you would like to leave us with before we end the conversation?
Look, I think, digital experience now is something that is never ending, because you're harvesting more data, you're getting more and more users coming to your digital properties, and the journeys that they're taking to get into your digital properties are becoming more and more sophisticated. So I think business leaders need to understand that this is a non-ending investment place that you can optimize and drive top-line revenue for. 5-10 years ago, personalization was really manual personalization, whereas now it's AI driven. That affords massive opportunities to organizations to really drive that top-line revenue. And unlocking digital potential is something that Optimizely holds very dear to its heart, and we really look forward to partnering with organizations here in Asia on that agenda.
Paul, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Paul North, Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific and Japan at Optimizely on Biztech's Technology Show. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.